Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? I hope that you all are doing great today. We will be having pronouns. It's a continuation from our previous class. Our last two classes we've had pronouns, and today we will be finishing the lesson on pronouns. Okay, so first of all, you log in using the aplusstudent.com. You scroll over here, click on your name, and we'll move on to language arts. Okay. And then on to grade 8, pronouns. So we've had the first 6 lessons, and today we will start from compound subjects and objects with I and me. Okay, so let's start now. I is a subject pronoun. You can use it as the subject of a sentence or clause. So usually I is a subject pronoun and it can be used as the subject or can be used as the subject of a sentence or a clause. It tells that the speaker is doing something and it is usually at the beginning of the sentence. So I always tells us what the speaker is doing and it is usually at the beginning of the sentence. Okay? After finishing the experiment, I showed my teacher the results. The subject I is the subject of the sentence. Now, who showed the teacher the result? It has to be I, right? So that is the subject of the sentence. Me is an object pronoun. You can use it after an action verb. You can also use it after a preposition like for, art, of, to, or with. So there are different ways that you can use me, but take note that me is usually the object of the sentence, and then I is the subject of the sentence. So we use I as the subject of the sentence. Okay, so moving on, we will see some examples before we go on. So let's go. The teacher showed, okay, after the experiment, my teacher showed me the results. So you see now, my teacher showed me the results. This is the me here as the object pronoun. The object pronoun me is used after an action verb showed. So usually it is used after an action verb which is showed. So what did the teacher do? Teacher showed, okay? Showed me. So it's an action verb showing. All right? And then the object pronoun me is used after a preposition to. So take note, it's also used after a preposition to, right? When a pronoun is connected to a noun with the word and For example, we have like Rick and I or Rick and me. It can be hard to tell which pronoun is correct. So to tell which one is correct, look at a sentence without the other noun. So if you want to be able to figure out which is the right pronoun to be there, you have to look at the sentence without the other verb to figure it out. So Rick and I discussed the results with the teacher. Rick and I discussed the result with the teacher. I discussed the results with the teacher. I is used as the subject of the sentence, so of course I can be on its own because it's used as the subject of the sentence. Now, the teacher discussed the results with Rick and me. The teacher discussed the result with Rick and me. The teacher discussed the result with me. Me is used after the preposition with. Okay, so you have to take note of times when you use the I and me. Okay, so I is the subject and me is the object. So moving on, Mr. Bond will show my mother dash and dash how to make yogurt. So is it going to be Mr. Bone will show my mother and me how to make yogurt, or what will be the right answer? So the right answer will be me, okay? Because the action verb there is show, and it tells us that me comes after the action verb show. And then Masha and Dash want to study geology in college. So is it Masha and me or Masha and I? Masha and what? Missing pronoun. You have to use the subject pronoun I because you can say I want to study geology in college. Mr. Kem will show my mother how Dash to make yogurt. So is it Mr. Kem will show my mother and me how to make the yogurt? Of course, it's going to be my mother and me. So these are different ways whereby you can use the me and I. Okay. So let's look at some more examples. Ellie swam under my sister and we floated in the pool. Ellie swam under my sister and Dash as we floated to the pool. So is it Ellie swam under my sister and I or under my sister and me? So what is the right one? Object of the pronoun. So it's going to be me. Reporter seems to descend on my lawyer and dash from direction. So the reporter seems to what? To descend on me from all direction. Okay. So you have to make sure that you use the me and I in the right position, the right way, the right manner without making any mistake. Okay, let's move on to our test. Select the correct pronoun to complete the sentence. Alec and Dash agree that the black dress looks better or looks best on me. So is it Alec and I or Alec and me? So what will be the right one? So we go with the subject of the sentence because you're saying also, I agree that the black dress will look good on me. So Mr. Kem will show my mom and me how to make yogurt. We had this also in the tutorial. So you have to make sure that you look at the right manner in which you would be able to put your me and I. Okay, so you have to check carefully and see that it's okay. Sometimes you have to remove the pronoun, no, remove the name of the person, use the pronoun to make a sentence and see if it makes sense. So if you use the pronoun to make a sentence and it is okay, then you know that that is the correct answer. Okay. The stray cats fled from Dale and me or Dale and I. Which one? The stray cat fled from Dale and me because usually me it's like ending the sentence is usually at the end and I is the subject, so me is the object. Okay. The reporters seem to descend on my lawyer and I from all directions. So is it my lawyer and me or my lawyer and I? So my lawyer and me. Because imagine if you say I from all direction, it doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure that you use the right one that is correct. Masha and Dash want to study geology in college. So now you can say Masha and I want to study geology in college, because you can say, oh, I want to study geology. Okay, so you use I. The actress gave my friend and Dash a her autograph. The actress gave my friend and I, or my friend and me, her autograph. So we can say my friend and I her autograph. So if you say I and then you click on it and it's wrong, it has to be me. Take notes. Remember that I is used as the subject and me can be used as the object. Okay, so this is supposed to be the object, not the subject. So Ellie and Dash met at the dance academy when we were younger. So is it Ellie and me or Ellie and I? Which of them is the right answer? So, for example, you say me, it is wrong because it's supposed to be the subject. So you are the subject there. I met Ellie at the dance academy, you can say. So take note of the different way to use I and me. So you click on the answer, it's wrong. Do not go back from the beginning. Just scroll down and read the tutorials here. It will give you a good and detailed explanation as to why it was wrong. Okay. All right. So moving on. Let's do some more questions. Ellie swam under my sister and me as we floated in the pool. Ellie swam under my sister and me as we floated in the pool. Okay. Even though Brenna's story was absurd, Cole and I found it entertaining. So you can say I because I is like the subject there. You can say I. You can take out Cole and then you can also say I found it entertaining. All right. So I hope that you all understand I and me. We will move on to the next lesson. Okay. So the next lesson we'll be having is compound subject and objects with pronoun. Okay, so we have you can use a subject pronoun as the subject of a sentence or clause. It tells who is doing something and it is usually at the beginning of the sentence. Of course, we know that the subject it tells us who is doing something. So it could be the subject pronoun or the main subject that tells you who is doing something. So you have I, you, he, she, it, me, we, and they. So all these are examples of subject pronouns that you can use that will let us know who is doing something in the sentence. After finishing the experiment, I showed my teacher the result. After finishing the experiment, I showed my teacher the results. The subject I is the subject of the sentence. You can use an object pronoun after an action verb, of course. You can also use an object after a preposition. So you use object after prepositions, or you can use it after action verb. Okay. So we have some prepositions here, like we've said in the previous one: at, for, of, on, to, or with. All these are prepositions that you can use object pronoun after. We also have the subject pronouns are me, you, him. Her, it, us, and them. So there are lists. There are lots of lists here of the subject object pronoun that you need to take note of also. Okay, so after the experiments, my teacher showed me the results. The object pronoun is me used as an action verb. Okay, so as usual, when a pronoun is connected to a noun with the word like Rick and I, it can be very hard to figure out how to put the correct pronoun. But what you need to do is take out the name, like I've said before, and use just the pronoun, and then you see if that is actually correct. Okay. So let's go on and check some questions. Steve and I picked up a dozen pizzas, which Dash and our guest that then quickly devoured. Which I and our girls, is it I or our guest? Okay, so is it I and our guest or me and our guest then quickly devoured? So which would be the right one here? Okay. So it's we. Okay, now is it I or we? Now it's talking about guests. Remember, we have different list of subject pronoun. So it's not only I right now. So it was talking about we, which is the plural. Okay, because it's talking about so many guests, not just one. You may not remember the incident, but your father and Dash do. Okay, so your father and what? Your father and I, yes, your father and I do. Layla greatly admires Dash and the other volunteers. So now volunteers is in plural, so it's supposed to be him and the other volunteers. Okay. Mr. Fletcher escorted Dash and Ellen to their respective tables. Escorted who? Her and Ellen to their respected tables. You may not remember that incident. Okay, yeah, that's already. Okay, let's move on to the test now. So select the correct pronoun to complete the sentence. Please don't interfere dash and their private affairs. Don't interfere them and their private affairs or they and their private affairs. So you would say them, okay? Layla greatly admires Dash and the other volunteers. Is it he or him? So him is the most suitable pronoun there. You may not remember that, but your father and I, this was in the tutorial, I do, okay? As Sophia slept, Mr. Stephenson wrapped a blanket around Dash and her tall doll. So is it around her and her doll or around she and her doll? What's the right one? Steve and I picked up a dozen pizzas. We dashed and our guest then quickly devoured it. So it is what? Us and our guest then quickly devoured it. So we and our guest quickly devoured it. After Ivan and Tessa's amazing dance performance, Dash and their parents celebrated. So is it they or them and their parents celebrated? So if you click on an answer, for example, just like this, and then you see that it is wrong, you have to scroll down and see the reason why it's wrong. Obviously, we cannot say them, okay? The right answer is they. But if you choose the answer and then you see that it's wrong, don't start from the beginning. Just scroll down and see why your answer is wrong. But take note, please, it's not them, it is they. This is just an example. Okay, so The pilot invited Dash and his brother into the cockpit before takeoff. So invited him and his brother, or him or he. So him and his brother into the cockpit before takeoff. Him. Okay. So I hope that you can complete the compound subject and objects with pronouns. We have different, obviously we have different subjects for the different types of subject. We also have as well different types of object pronoun. So we have all of them. Again, I will just show you that. Okay. So these are the different types of subject pronoun we have. We have I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. Okay. And then the object pronoun we have me, you, him, her, it was, and them. Okay. So you have to make sure that you take absolute caution when you are answering this or doing this test. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next lesson. So we have choose between personal and reflexive pronouns. So what is the personal and then the reflexive pronoun? Reflexive pronouns are pronouns that end in self or selves. You know those pronouns that you have the self at the end. That is what reflexive pronouns are. Subject singular reflexive pronoun. So we have like the singular reflexive pronoun and also the plural. But all this, the one that end with f is the singular. But if you see ves, that means it is the plural. So I myself, you yourself, she herself, he himself, it itself. Okay. So that's the difference, all right? And then these are the plural: we ourselves, you yourself, they themselves. Okay. Now, a reflexive pronoun is used to refer back to the subject of the sentence or clause in which it appears. It should agree with the subject. So now a reflexive pronoun should always agree with the subject, okay? And it is used to refer to the subject as well, okay? If you want to express the subject or explain the subject, you can use reflexive pronoun. We helped ourselves to some soup. The subject of the sentence is we, so we use ourselves. After the guest left, Amy made herself a cup of tea. The subject of the clause in which the pronoun appears is Amy. Amy can be called she, so use herself. Now, a reflexive pronoun can only be used to refer to the subject of the sentence. Take note, it's used to refer to subject of the sentence or clauses in which it appears. Okay, to refer to someone else or something else, a personal pronoun like me, you, him, her, it, us, or them should be used instead. So if you want to refer to personal pronouns, you use me, you, she, him, her, it, us, or them. Okay, so that's in case you want to refer to a personal pronoun. Okay. Jack wrote a note for himself. The reflexive pronoun himself refers back to the subject Jake. Jake wrote a note for him. The personal pronoun him must refer to someone other than the subject Jake. So he impressed Dash with his knowledge of Greek myths and legends. So he impressed what? He impressed me. Okay, personal pronoun. In the subway station, a lost stories asks for Dash for directions to the flea market. So the lost stories ask for the direction from who? Okay, from me. All right. Okay, so let's go see some more examples. So some more. This weekend, I am dedicating dash to take care of the chores that have piled up. I am dedicating what? I am dedicating what would be the right pronoun? Myself to take care of the dishes that have piled up or the chores. Okay? Wrap around spiders hide during the day by wrapping dash around twigs. What? Wrapping what? What is the correct answer here? Wrapping what? Themselves. Okay? By wrapping themselves. Alright, so let's move on to the test. So next the test. So send in your answers if you have. He impressed Dash with his knowledge of great myths and legends. He impressed myself or me. Which one? Select the best pronoun to complete the sentence. What's the best pronoun? Me? She summoned she summoned Dash to the conference room for emergency meeting with the president of the company. She summoned us or ourselves. So she summoned us. From the assignment, should we measure dash in inches or centimeters? Should we measure ourselves? Because we have we. Remember that we goes with ourselves for the reflexive pronouns, okay? So should we measure ourselves? This weekend, I am dedicating dash to take care of the chores that have piled up. I am what? Dedicating myself. Okay, I'm dedicating myself. The To protest the logging of growth forest, demonstrators stationed dash outside the capital, stationed themselves or herself. So themselves. Okay. Okay. All right. Select the best pronoun to complete the sentence. At the game, the tennis player criticized Dash for his weak service. Criticize who? Himself or itself? Himself. Okay. So that's it for the reflexive pronoun. You can go through it, okay, and then still answer the lesson if you've not done that. All right. So back to the last lesson. So let's go to the last lesson. Is the pronoun reflexive or intensive? So we have to figure, is it intensive or reflexive? Okay. Okay, so we have reflexive pronoun refers back to the subject of the sentence in which they appear, like I've said previously, while intensive pronoun emphasizes on intensity, the noun or pronoun they refer to. They can refer to any noun or pronoun in the sentence, not just the subject. Intensive pronouns are used for emphasis only. They are not objects of verbs or preposition. So they are used for emphasis. Okay? No one else was home, so I bought the grocery myself. The intensive pronoun myself emphasizes the pronoun I. Wait, after waiting in the line all afternoon, we were finally able to meet the queen herself. One way to tell if a pronoun is reflexive or intensive is to try replacing it with an object pronoun like me, her, or us. If you can replace it with an object pronoun and still have a complete sentence, it is reflexive. If you can, it is intensive. So we use the object pronoun, okay, to try the intensive and reflexive, okay. Did Sarah save any of the cookies for herself? Did Sarah save any of the cookies for him? You can replace herself with the object him and still have a sentence. This tells you that the pronoun is reflexive. Okay, so let's move on to the test to identify. Is the pronoun reflexive or intensive? Andrew uses an elaborate system of notes to remind himself of what he has left to do. Himself. Okay. Okay. So now look at this one here. For example, we click on intensive. Okay, so we have to try with reflexive and see. But reflexive is the correct answer. So why is reflexive the correct? We will go down and see the explanation. The pronoun himself refers to the subject Andrew. So you can replace himself with an object pronoun. It is a reflexive pronoun. Okay, so take note if the sentence already has a subject or something. We are new here ourselves. He said as he shook my hand. We are new here ourselves, he said as he shook my hand. So this is very similar. So this is reflexive. Okay, now you can't replace ourself with an object because ourself is already the object, okay? So it is an intensive pronoun. So you usually can replace the object. So take note of the difference. You can replace the object. Okay? Okay. The tourist herself in an unfamiliar neighborhood and pulled out her lamp. So what is the right answer here? What would be our right answer? So reflexive here is the correct answer for us. When they performed at the carnival, the magician and his assistant made themselves disappear. His assistant and his magician, that's the magician and his assistant made themselves disappear. Okay, so what will be the right answer here? So if you click on reflexive and it's not correct, you will see the correction. But reflexive is the correct answer here. Is the pronoun bold, reflexive, or intensive? The business's success was far greater than whatever they themselves have dared to imagine. So what is the right answer here? Intensive. I convinced myself that going to the police was the appropriate course of action. What is that? Reflexive. Okay. So at 3 o'clock, the conductor I used to excuse ourselves briefly from the rehearsal to discuss the symphony schedule. So you can say reflexive. All right, so that's it for the pronoun. Is it reflexive or intensive? You have to make sure that you understand carefully before you move on to doing the test. Okay, we've done all the lessons completely, even though we did that 3 different days. I hope that you guys can take notes back to that and then try to answer the questions, try to understand them carefully. Okay? So I do hope that you understand the lesson. I hope that you have a good night and see you in the next lesson. Please try to complete the test if you've not done that. Finish the lesson and move on to your final test after you're done. Do have a good evening and bye everyone.